The village of Kethmara was dying. Every morning, the elders counted the bodies. Every night, they prayed to gods who never answered. The sickness had come 3 cycles ago, carried on the wind from the mountain caves. It started with fever. Then came the black spots on the skin. Then death. Always death. Elder Vorn stood at the edge of the village, watching the purple sun sink behind the dead trees. His 4 eyes were tired. His green scales had lost their shine. He had buried his youngest child 2 days ago. His wife would not last a week. The healers had tried everything. The sacred herbs, the blood rituals, the songs of healing passed down through 1,000 generations. Nothing worked. The sickness laughed at their efforts and took more lives. Behind him, the village was quiet. Too quiet. Once, Kethmara had been full of laughter and music. Children had played in the streets. Merchants had shouted their prices in the marketplace. Now, only the sound of weeping filled the air. Only the smell of burning bodies remained. Vorn was about to return to his dying wife when he saw something strange in the sky. A ball of fire was falling toward the forest. It was not a meteor. It moved too slowly. It changed direction twice before disappearing behind the trees with a distant crash. The elder called for the warriors. Only 7 remained. The rest had died from the sickness or left to find help that never came. Together, they walked into the forest, spears ready, hearts filled with fear and hope. They found the crashed ship in a clearing. It was small, barely larger than a hunting wagon. Smoke rose from its broken hull. Strange symbols covered its surface. The warriors surrounded it, waiting for whatever monster might emerge. The door opened with a hiss. A figure stepped out into the fading light. The warriors gasped and raised their spears. The creature was unlike anything they had seen. It stood on 2 legs like them, but its skin was the color of the evening sky. Blue. Deep, rich blue. It had only 2 eyes, round and dark and somehow kind. It wore strange clothes made of materials that shone like water. On its back was a large bag filled with unknown objects. The creature raised its hands slowly. It made sounds with its mouth. The sounds meant nothing to the warriors. They did not understand this language, but they understood the gesture. The creature was not attacking. It was surrendering. Elder Vorn pushed through the warriors. He studied the blue being carefully. It was not a god. It was not a demon. It was something else entirely. Something new. The creature touched a small device on its chest. When it spoke again, the words came out in the language of Kethmara. The translation was rough, but understandable. "I am called Sarah. I am a healer. My ship is broken." "I mean no harm." Vorn narrowed his 4 eyes. A healer. The word echoed in his mind like a distant bell. He thought of his dying wife. He thought of the children still fighting the sickness. He thought of how many lives might be saved if this stranger spoke the truth. "Our village is dying," he said. "A sickness is killing everyone. Our healers have failed. Can you help us?" Sarah's expression changed. Even without understanding her species, Vorn could see something in her eyes. Concern, interest, determination. "Take me to your sick," she said. "Let me see what I can do." The warriors escorted Sarah to Kethmara. The villagers watched from their windows and doorways, too weak or too scared to come outside. They had heard stories of beings from beyond the sky. The stories were never good. Sky beings brought war, destruction, and slavery to worlds like theirs. But Vorn walked beside the blue stranger without fear. He had nothing left to lose. If she was a demon, at least his suffering would end. If she was a healer, maybe his people would survive. Sarah entered the healing house. Inside, 30 victims of the sickness lay on mats, coughing and moaning. The black spots covered their bodies. The smell of death hung heavy in the air. The village healers watched the stranger with suspicious eyes. Sarah opened her bag and pulled out strange tools. She scanned the sick with devices that beeped and glowed. She took samples of blood and skin. She worked quickly and quietly, her blue hands moving with practiced skill. For 3 days, she studied the sickness. She barely slept. She barely ate. The villagers brought her food and water, but she only took small sips and small bites. Her focus was absolute. Her determination was frightening. On the 4th day, she called for Elder Vorn. "I understand the sickness now," she said. "It is caused by a tiny creature too small to see. It lives in the water of your wells. It spreads through touch and through the air when the sick cough. Your bodies have never seen this creature before. You have no protection against it." Vorn did not understand all of her words. Creatures too small to see? How was that possible? But he heard the important part. "Can you cure it?" Sarah smiled. It was a tired smile, but also a hopeful one. "I think so. My medicines are not made for your people. But the creature that makes you sick is similar to creatures from my world. I can make something that might work. I need plants from your forest, certain minerals, clean water, and time." Vorn gave her everything she asked for. The remaining warriors gathered plants and rocks. The women boiled water until it was pure. The children watched the blue stranger work her strange magic. Sarah set up a small workshop in the healing house. She crushed plants and mixed liquids. She heated powders and filtered solutions. She talked to herself in her own language, making notes on a glowing screen. The village healers watched with a mixture of awe and jealousy. Their ancestors had developed their healing arts over thousands of years. This stranger was doing things they could not even imagine. On the 7th day, Sarah held up a small bottle filled with dark liquid. "This is the medicine," she said. "I tested it on samples of the sickness creature. It kills the creature. But I do not know if it is safe for your people. Someone must try it first." The room was silent. Everyone understood the risk. The medicine might cure the sickness, or it might kill the patient faster. There was no way to know without testing. Elder Vorn stepped forward. "Give it to my wife. She will die anyway. Let her be the first to try." Sarah looked at him with those strange, kind eyes. She nodded slowly. "You are brave, Elder. Your wife is lucky to have you." They went to Vorn's home together. His wife lay on her sleeping mat, barely conscious. The black spots covered her body from head to foot. Her breathing was shallow. Death was close. Sarah gave her the medicine. 1 small spoonful, mixed with water. Then they waited. The night was long. Vorn sat beside his wife, holding her hand. Sarah sat in the corner, watching, waiting. The candles burned down to stubs and had to be replaced. As the first light of morning crept through the window, Vorn's wife opened her eyes. They were clear. The fever was gone. The black spots on her arm had faded slightly. "I am thirsty," she whispered, "and hungry." Vorn wept with joy. He had not cried since he was a child, but now the tears flowed freely. His wife would live. The medicine worked. Word spread through the village like fire. The blue stranger had created a miracle. The sickness could be defeated. There was hope. Sarah worked without rest for the next 3 weeks. She made more medicine, teaching the village healers how to prepare it. She showed them how to clean their hands before touching the sick. She explained how the tiny creatures spread and how to stop them. She taught them to boil water before drinking it. She taught them to cover their mouths when they coughed. One by one, the sick began to recover. The black spots faded. The fevers broke. The coughing stopped. Children who had been waiting to die were now running through the streets again. Parents who had prepared funerals were now preparing celebrations. The village of Kethmara was reborn. Elder Vorn watched Sarah work day after day. He saw the exhaustion in her eyes. He saw the way her hands shook from lack of sleep. He saw how much she gave of herself for people she did not know, for a world that was not her own. One evening, he sat beside her as she rested near her broken ship. "Why did you help us?" he asked. "We are strangers to you." We could have been dangerous. We could have killed you. Yet, you saved our village." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. She looked up at the stars, at the vast darkness between worlds. "My people call themselves human," she said. "We come from a small blue world far from here. We have done many terrible things in our history. War, destruction, cruelty. But we have also learned that the universe is lonely. Life is rare. And every life has value." She turned to look at Vorn with those strange two-eyed gaze. "I could not watch your people die and do nothing. Not when I had the power to help. That is not who I want to be. That is not who my people should be." Vorn thought about her words for a long time. He had always believed that beings from beyond the sky were monsters. Stories passed down through generations had taught him to fear the unknown. But this blue stranger had shown him something different. She had shown him that kindness could cross the stars. That compassion knew no boundaries. "Will you stay with us?" he asked. "Your ship is broken. You have nowhere to go." "We would be honored to have you live among us." Sarah smiled sadly. "I would like that. But I fixed my communication device yesterday. A rescue ship is coming for me in 2 days. I must return to my people and report what happened here." The news hit Vorn like a physical blow. He had grown to care for this strange blue woman. The whole village loved her. They called her the Blue Witch Doctor, a title of highest respect. "Will you come back?" he asked. Sarah reached out and placed her blue hand on his green shoulder. "I will try. And even if I cannot return myself, I will tell my people about Cathmora, about your bravery, about your kindness. Maybe one day our peoples can be friends." 2 days later, the rescue ship arrived. It was much larger than Sarah's crashed vessel, sleek and silver and silent. The entire village came to watch. They brought gifts for the Blue Witch Doctor: food, cloth, jewelry made from precious stones. Sarah accepted each gift with tears in her eyes. She gave gifts in return: medicine for the village healers, books showing how to make more, tools to help them build and grow, knowledge that would change their world forever. As she walked toward the rescue ship, Elder Vorn called out to her, "We will never forget you, Blue Witch Doctor. Our children will tell stories of you. Our grandchildren will sing songs of the stranger from the stars who saved us. You will live forever in our hearts." Sarah turned back one last time. She raised her hand in farewell. The villagers raised their hands in return. Then she stepped into the ship, and the door closed behind her. The silver vessel rose into the sky and disappeared among the stars. The villagers watched until it was gone. Then they returned to their homes, their hearts full of gratitude and wonder. The sickness never returned to Cathmara. The village grew strong again. New children were born. New homes were built. The marketplace filled with laughter and music once more. And at the center of the village, they built a statue of the Blue Witch Doctor, her hand raised toward the sky, forever watching over them. And sometimes, on quiet nights, Elder Vorn would look up at the stars and wonder. Somewhere out there, among all those distant lights, was a small blue world filled with beings like Sarah, beings who crossed the darkness between stars not to conquer, but to help, not to take, but to give. Maybe the universe was not as cold and lonely as he had always believed. Maybe there was hope among the stars after all.